Funding increases for police departments across the state are on track to pass the state legislature. The goal is to hire and retain more police officers, but the union leader for another group of criminal justice workers is calling for attention too. That would be the Bernalillo County Commissioners passing an emergency resolution late last month to address the staffing shortages at the Metropolitan Detention Center. But in the week since, KOB reports 12 more corrections officers at MDC have quit. And could this reach a point, Andy, where the state might need to step in, because some of the quotes coming out of the heads of MDC are kind of scary right now?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, some of these stories have mentioned the National Guard, and we've already seen that with substitute teachers. I guess that's the kind of the obvious possibility where the state could step in, but you do get sort of this jurisdictional issue, this problem of who steps in to fix it, because it's already the Bernalillo County's job to sort of address this.
Right. You know, Inez, you're up in Santa Fe, but jails are jails, as they say. We pack a lot of people in, and we expect the criminal justice system to just deal with this, but this seems to be a real choke point, doesn't it?
It does, because for one thing, we've criminalized so many things that it's not that hard to get arrested. Let's say you're a homeless person with a mental illness and you do something that lands you up in jail. Then you have to be guarded and all of the things that go with being in jail. And our trial system is overloaded. There's not enough public defenders. A recent report, I think it was the American Bar Association, found that we're 30% understaffed for the current caseload, not just whatever new might come with all these new police officers that I assume are going to be arresting people. So if you don't have public defenders and you don't have enough prosecutors and you don't have enough court time, people are going to stay in pretrial detention, and they stay usually in county jails. You don't go to prison for pretrial detention.
Good point.
So the system has to be fixed. The governor, is upset because her crime bills aren't being passed, and it might be a time for self-reflection to say, maybe I am introducing the wrong sorts of legislation. And what would really fix the crime system might be ensuring swift and sure punishment, which means investing in the system that does those things.
Well said. Hey, Dan, is this a symptom of how we generally approach criminal justice reform? Meaning there's always talk about policing, enforcement, but the second and third half of the equation, detention and prosecution, in the court system doesn't usually get as much attention. Is that a fair statement? Is there a change in mindset that needs to happen?
I mean, I think it gets attention. I think it's not attention that people really want to talk about, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to go back to your constituents and say, hey, I've improved the prison system and made it better. Most people think everybody should be locked up, thrown away, the key thrown away, and it should be hard time. I think there's some easier fixes here, right? I mean, we're having these conversations where, look, we have both ends of the extreme here, right? Everybody agrees that some guy gets pulled over, nonviolent offender. This guy shouldn't be thrown in jail waiting 8 months to go to prison, right? The flip side is no one's advocating that a guy who's the third time before the courts for rape and murder should be turned out in 24 hours.
Right. And
so we've got to come right. We have to stop looking at this like a single piece of legislation is going to solve it. Look, I would tell you, I think there's some problems where we've lost the gift of discernment out there with these judges and with what's going on, right? I mean, you hear about these people that are committing violent crimes, multiple violent crimes, and they're back out on the streets in a few minutes. Somebody somewhere has to say, hold on a second, right? And yet we hear the story about the guy who gets pulled over, got a little bit of weed or a little bit of coke or did something stupid, and that guy disappears, like the guy down in Las Cruces that got the DUI and wound up like 2.5 years in solitary confinement.
That's right.
And got $40-something million from Las Cruces for that. I mean, how does that happen, right? How does some guy with a DUI wind up in jail for 2.5 years before anybody does anything? But the guy who's on his third rape is out the door in 48 seconds.
Daniel, let me ask you something that Inez threw out on the table, which I find very interesting, and I'm referring to this fabulous piece by Daniel Chacon in the Santa Fe, New Mexican, guys. The headline, Gov, legislature's inability to tackle crime, quote, defies explanation. And Daniel, let me read you a quote from the governor. Quote, I am deeply troubled and frustrated by the legislature's reluctance to take meaningful action, and New Mexicans should be outraged. Meaning these crime bills are going nowhere. Is this a preemptive strike here? Why is she out before the session's even over?
It's happened for years. Listen, you have to realize the legislature, there's a large makeup of attorneys, both criminal defense attorneys, former prosecutors. There's folks that have been in other positions like mayors and county commissioners. So you have a real battle of folks that are like, listen, we got to make these laws. This is my opinion. Okay. I think there's a lot of folks in the legislature that want to make some of these laws ambiguous so that there's a reason to get a lawyer and a reason to go fight it and a reason why you don't get convicted of DUIs 15 times. And there's other people that are like, well, wait a minute. Why don't we just make these things pretty clear? And I think the governor is realizing we are on a slippery slope in New Mexico with crime. It is one of the few issues that is bipartisan right now in this state. You go out there and you see Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, liberals, urban and rural, that are saying enough is enough with the violent crime. I mean, when we're leading the nation, not per capita in car theft, when you got murder the way it is, when you got these massive problems with crime that are not just people breaking into a house anymore, right? We had a big hullabaloo when RJ Berry was running for mayor about, property crimes. It's now escalated into serious violent crime.
That's right.
And people rally behind that. And the sad part is, at the end of the day, when you have crime like it is right now, constituents don't want to see a thoughtful, methodical process.
I'm going to move on from that. I hear your point, though. Andy, the idea, I'm still on this idea that the governor is out there. Next Thursday is when this thing ends. She's already out there preparing the public that what she proposed, we should all expect, is not going to happen. But this is an election year and an upcoming election cycle. Is it as big of a mess as I'm feeling, or can she just get past this?
Well, I think the latest update on this pretrial detention bill is sort of taking out what they're calling the rebuttable presumption, and saying we're going to just sort of be tougher on ankle monitors or the electronic monitoring, and say they're pushing for just to have that real-time data to see where people are at all times. So something could get through, and it's definitely not going to be this sort of put people in jail if we think that the crime they've done is heinous enough. Just a reminder, that's what it is that they're saying if we think that we have enough evidence, and I'm not even sure how the evidence plays into it, if they think that there's a crime that was that bad committed, we can put them in jail. And I think that the compromise, what it seems to be, is if you can call it a compromise, is that they're just going to be tougher on this electronic monitoring, So it could end up being sort of a win for her in this election season, in that that she did her best, she got something through.
But Andy, let me ask you this: Albuquerque Mayor Tim Keller told KOB this week that he supports a special session dealing solely with crime. Is that where we're headed to here?
It's very, very likely a possibility, because it is election season, and I don't want to, put any motives behind anything. But it is an election season. She's up for election. The mayor, Tim Keller, is not. But it does sort of send a message that they're trying to be serious about something to the folks that are, like Dan said, want some immediate action, and not trying to get some of these root problems for why crime is happening.
Gene, you guys got to remember, when you talk about a special session,
please.
I'm not sure that the governor would be in favor of a special session, because once the special sessions start, she's the only one who's limited from raising money. All of her opponents are out there raising money, campaigning. And so, when people say, oh, it's a political year and the governor is going to they're not, people running for office are not in favor of the special sessions. Now, I think what you're seeing, though, is crime is an issue, not only here, but across the country. And I think the governor has to get out in front of this and say, listen, I am trying to be tough on crime coming into an election year. There's no doubt that the Republican nominee is going to go after this governor on crime, and you've got to inoculate yourself as early as possible. Doesn't mean you have to have any outcomes. You just got to show up, pretty good fight, show the intent to want to do something, and you can say, listen, reelect me and I'll keep fighting.
There you go. Thank you all for that discussion. We'll be back in less than a minute with an update on proposed voting reforms. And with so much left to be done in the final week, I'll ask the question, will we need another special session to handle it?